I had always considered myself a man of faith, devoted to my calling and sure of my beliefs. Yet, nothing could have prepared me for the terror that awaited in the cold, stone corridors of the convent in the Spanish mountains. The church sent me, Father Miguel, alongside Sister Sophia, a woman whose troubled past had endowed her with a strength I couldn't yet comprehend. We were tasked with investigating the death of Sister Agnes under strange and unnerving circumstances. As we arrived, a sense of foreboding hung heavily in the air. It seemed that the death of the nun was just the beginning, and the darkness lurking within the convent walls was more sinister than I could have ever imagined. I had always been a man of faith, sure of my beliefs and certain that my path was guided by divine light. But nothing could have prepared me for the terror that awaited within the cold, stone corridors of the convent perched high in the Spanish mountains. It was late autumn when the church sent me, Father Miguel, to investigate the mysterious death of Sister Agnes. Joining me was Sister Sophia, a nun with a past as troubled as the history of the convent itself. Her reputation for dealing with the supernatural preceded her, but I wasn't sure what to make of it until I saw the fear in her eyes as we approached our destination. The journey to the convent was grueling. The road twisted dangerously along steep cliffs, and as we climbed higher into the mountains, a storm gathered above us, darkening the sky. It was as if the heavens themselves were warning us to turn back, but duty called, and so we pressed on, the rain beginning to lash against the windshield of our car. When we finally arrived, night had already fallen, casting an eerie shadow over the ancient stone building. As we stepped out of the car, the wind howled through the trees, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The air was unnaturally cold, a biting chill that penetrated even the thickest of clothing. Sister Sophia seemed unaffected, her expression stoic as she led the way to the convent entrance. I admired her composure, but couldn't ignore the pit of anxiety growing in my stomach. We were greeted by Mother Juliana, the abbess, a stern woman whose eyes betrayed no emotion. Her face was lined with age, but her voice was strong as she welcomed us. "Thank you for coming," she said, her words clipped and efficient. "Sister Agnes's death has unsettled the others. They are frightened, and the rumors are spreading." "What rumors?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mother Juliana hesitated, her gaze flickering to Sister Sophia before settling back on me. "They say they've seen a shadow, a figure that roams the halls at night. Some claim it's La Sombra, a dark spirit that's haunted these walls for centuries." The legend of La Sombra was well known, a tale whispered among the faithful and the fearful alike. According to the stories, she was a nun who had broken her vows, betraying her sisters in a moment of weakness. For her sins, she was cursed to wander the convent for all eternity, a specter of darkness and despair. I had dismissed such tales as mere superstition, but now, standing in the convent's shadow, I felt a shiver run down my spine. That night, I found myself unable to sleep, my mind restless and uneasy. The silence of the convent was oppressive, broken only by the distant sound of the storm raging outside. I decided to explore, hoping to find some sense of peace within the ancient walls. But as I wandered the dimly lit corridors, the sense of unease grew stronger, as if the very stones were whispering secrets I couldn't understand. It was then that I saw it, a flicker of movement at the end of the hall, a shadow that seemed to shift and dance in the candlelight. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, but as I approached, the shadow solidified into a figure. It was a nun, her face obscured by darkness, but her eyes were empty, hollow voids that seemed to pull at my very soul. I froze, unable to look away, as the figure slowly raised a hand, beckoning me closer. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted, my breath visible in the frigid air. Panic surged through me, and I stumbled back, my heart pounding in my chest. The figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving me alone in the darkened corridor. I stood there, shaking, trying to comprehend what I had just witnessed. Was it truly La Sombra, or was my mind playing tricks on me? Returning to my room, I found Sister Sophia waiting, her eyes filled with understanding. "You saw her, didn't you?" she asked, her voice a mixture of curiosity and dread. I nodded, my throat dry. I did. Or at least, I think I did. Sister Sophia sighed, a weariness settling over her. We have much to discuss, Father. The shadows here are deep, and the darkness. It has a way of reaching into the hearts of those who come seeking answers. As the storm raged on outside, I realized that this was only the beginning of our ordeal. Sister Agnes's death was not an isolated incident, but part of a larger, more sinister puzzle. Together, Sister Sophia and I would have to unravel the mysteries of the convent and face the darkness that lurked within its walls. I prayed that our faith would be enough to see us through, but in that moment, I couldn't help but feel the weight of the shadows pressing in, threatening to swallow us whole. The next morning, I awoke early, my mind still reeling from the events of the night before. I found Sister Sophia in the convent's modest dining hall, already seated with a cup of tea. Her eyes met mine, and she gave me a small, knowing nod. She, too, had spent a restless night. We ate quickly and then began our investigation in earnest, starting with the room where Sister Agnes had died. The room was on the 3rd floor, at the end of a long hallway that seemed darker and colder than the rest of the convent. As we entered, a chill passed over me, like walking through a ghost. The room was sparse, with just a simple bed, a wooden chair, and a crucifix hanging on the wall. Despite the apparent simplicity, the atmosphere felt heavy, as if the air was burdened with the weight of something unseen. Sister Sophia immediately began examining the space, her eyes scanning for any clues that might explain Sister Agnes's death. I found myself drawn to the window, which overlooked a courtyard filled with gnarled, leafless trees. I noticed something odd as I glanced down, strange markings on the floorboards just beneath the bed. I knelt down for a closer look and traced my fingers over the symbols etched into the wood. Sister Sophia, I called, my voice barely above a whisper. Come look at this. She joined me, her expression grave. These markings, she said, they're not of this world. I've seen similar symbols before in my studies of the occult. They are used in rituals to summon or bind spirits. A shiver ran down my spine at the thought. Could Sister Agnes have been involved in something unnatural? Sister Sophia shook her head, her brows furrowed in thought. I don't believe she was, but it's possible someone else was using her. These symbols indicate a deep knowledge of dark magic. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. The thought that someone within these sacred walls might be dabbling in the dark arts was deeply unsettling. We had to uncover more, so we set out to speak with the other sisters. They were gathered in the chapel, their prayers echoing softly against the stone walls. The tension in the air was palpable, and I could see the fear etched on their faces. As we approached, the sisters fell silent, their eyes wary. Sister Sophia took the lead, speaking gently but firmly. We need to ask you some questions about Sister Agnes. Anything you know, no matter how small, might help us understand what happened. One of the younger nuns stepped forward, her hands trembling. I heard her talking to someone late at night, she confessed. I couldn't make out the words, but it was like she was arguing with someone, pleading almost. But when I looked, there was no one there. Another sister, an older woman with weary eyes, added, Sister Agnes had been acting strangely for weeks. She was distant, like something was weighing heavily on her soul. We tried to reach out, but she wouldn't talk to us. As we gathered more testimonies, a pattern began to emerge. Sister Agnes had been tormented, isolated by something only she could see or hear. Whispers in the night, shadowy figures that vanished when approached. It was as if the darkness had singled her out, slowly wearing down her spirit until it claimed her life. Determined to find more answers, Sister Sophia and I headed to the convent's archives. We hoped that the records might shed some light on the history of La Sombra and any previous incidents. The archives were located in a small, dimly lit room at the back of the convent. Dusty shelves lined the walls, crammed with old tomes and records dating back centuries. Hours passed as we sifted through the yellowed pages, the stories of the convent's past unfolding before us. It became clear that Sister Agnes's death was not the first of its kind. Over the years, there had been several mysterious deaths and disappearances, each surrounded by rumors of a dark presence. Each time, The stories of La Sombra resurfaced, whispered among the sisters until they faded once more into the shadows. One entry, in particular, caught my attention. It detailed the account of a nun from the early 18th century, Sister Mariana, who had also died under mysterious circumstances. Her diary, which had been preserved among the records, spoke of visions and voices, shadows that haunted her every step. She described the same symbols we found in Sister Agnes's room and a dark figure that tormented her in the night. "This is it," I said to Sister Sophia, my voice a mixture of dread and resolve. "The pattern repeats." Sister Agnes was caught in the same web as Sister Mariana. Sister Sophia nodded, her expression grave. La Sombra isn't just a legend. It's a malevolent force that feeds on fear and despair. We need to find a way to stop it before it claims another victim. Our resolve strengthened, but time was running out. The darkness seemed to grow stronger with each passing day, as if La Sombra knew we were closing in on the truth. As we left the archives, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, that the shadows were closing in, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Despite the fear gnawing at my insides, I was determined to uncover the full truth behind the convent's dark history and bring peace to Sister Agnes's tormented soul. Sister Sophia and I would have to face La Sombra together, but I feared what price we might pay in our struggle against the darkness. Would our faith be enough, or would we too become lost in the shadows? The answer lay ahead, hidden within the labyrinth of the convent, where secrets and shadows intertwined. Sister Sophia and I spent the next day preparing for what would undoubtedly be our most harrowing encounter yet. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the convent as we gathered the tools we would need for the exorcism. Holy water, blessed relics, and an ancient book of prayers. Despite the daylight, a sense of unease permeated every corner of the convent, the feeling of being watched more palpable than ever. We knew that time was running out, and that La Sombra's grip on this place was tightening. In the afternoon, we gathered the nuns in the chapel to explain our plan. The chapel, usually a place of peace and sanctuary, felt different now. The walls seemed to close in, the air heavy with anticipation. The sisters listened intently as Sister Sophia spoke, her voice steady despite the fear I knew she felt inside. "We are dealing with a powerful entity," she began, meeting the eyes of each sister in turn. "It preys on fear and doubt, and it is relentless in its pursuit. But with faith and strength, we can drive it away. Tonight, Father Miguel and I will perform an exorcism. We ask for your prayers and your support, as your faith will strengthen us in the battle to come." The sisters nodded, their faces pale but resolute. They were afraid, but their resolve was clear. They had lived under the shadow of La Sombra for far too long, and it was time to reclaim their home. As night fell, Sister Sophia and I made our final preparations. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat a reminder of the danger we were about to face. I glanced at Sister Sophia, whose calm demeanor was a testament to her experience in facing the supernatural. Her courage was infectious, and I took a deep breath to steady my nerves. The hour was upon us. We stood at the entrance of the chapel, our hands clasped around our rosaries. The nuns gathered in the pews, their heads bowed in prayer, filling the air with the soft murmurs of their voices. Sister Sophia and I exchanged a nod and stepped forward to begin the exorcism. As we began reciting the prayers, the air in the chapel seemed to change, growing colder and more oppressive. I could feel a presence in the room, an unseen force pushing against us, resisting our efforts. My voice grew louder, more insistent, as I repeated the ancient words, willing them to penetrate the darkness surrounding us. Suddenly, the candles lining the altar flickered wildly before extinguishing altogether, plunging the chapel into darkness. The temperature plummeted, our breath visible in the icy air. The sisters gasped, their prayers faltering as shadows seemed to gather in the corners of the room. "Do not falter," Sister Sophia called out, her voice cutting through the fear. "Our faith is our weapon. Together, we are strong." I focused on the words, pouring my heart and soul into each syllable. The shadows writhed and twisted as if recoiling from the light of our faith. And then, from the darkness, she appeared. La Sombra materialized before us, her form shifting and contorting, a grotesque parody of a nun. Her eyes were pits of darkness, devoid of life, and her voice was a chilling symphony of whispers and screams. "Leave this place," I commanded, my voice filled with a determination that surprised even me. "You have no power here. You are not welcome in this house of God." La Sombra laughed, a sound that echoed like broken glass through the chapel. "You think you can banish me, priest?" she hissed, her form flickering like a flame. "This place is mine. It has been for centuries. You are nothing to me." But I could see the truth beneath her bravado. The presence of the nuns, their unwavering faith, was weakening her hold on the convent. I pressed on, repeating the prayers with renewed vigor, and felt the atmosphere begin to shift. The sisters' voices rose in unison, their prayers becoming a chorus of light against the encroaching darkness. La Sombra shrieked in rage, her form unraveling as if caught in a violent storm. The shadows around her writhed and twisted, a chaotic dance of fury and despair. I could feel her power waning, the force that had bound her to this place breaking apart under the weight of our collective faith. Sister Sophia joined me at the altar, her presence a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Together, we continued the exorcism, our voices steady and unwavering. The light of our faith blazed through the chapel, driving La Sombra back, forcing her to retreat into the shadows from whence she came. With a final, desperate scream, La Sombra was gone, her presence vanquished from the convent. The oppressive chill lifted, replaced by a warmth that seemed to seep into every corner of the chapel. The candles relit themselves, casting a gentle glow across the room. We had succeeded. La Sombra was banished, her hold on the convent broken. The sisters erupted into relieved cheers and prayers of thanks. Their faces shone with the light of renewed hope, and I felt a profound sense of relief wash over me. The battle had been won, but I knew the war against such darkness was never truly over. Sister Sophia and I exchanged a weary smile, both of us exhausted but grateful. The night had tested our faith and courage, pushing us to the brink of despair, but in the end, it had been the strength of our belief and the unity of the sisters that had saved us all. We had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, our faith forged anew in the crucible of terror. As the dawn broke over the mountains, painting the convent in hues of gold and pink, I knew we had been changed by the experience. Our work was not done, but for now, peace had been restored, and the shadows had been driven back. And though the darkness might return one day, we were ready. Our faith was our armor, our prayers our shield, and together, we would stand against the shadows, united and unafraid. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, I felt a profound sense of relief mixed with lingering exhaustion. Sister Sophia and I spent the remainder of the night with the other nuns in the chapel, praying and reflecting on what we had just faced. The battle against La Sombra had left its mark on all of us, but there was also a renewed sense of hope and unity among the sisters. For the first time in what felt like forever, the oppressive atmosphere that had weighed down the convent was gone, replaced by a serene calm. After a short rest, Sister Sophia and I decided to explore the convent one last time to ensure that La Sombra's presence had truly been vanquished. As we walked through the now familiar stone corridors, there was a lightness in the air that I hadn't felt since we arrived. The oppressive chill that had haunted us was gone, replaced by the warmth of the morning sun streaming through the windows. Our journey took us to a part of the convent we had yet to explore, the cellar. It was a place where shadows had lingered thickest and a spot we had avoided during our initial investigation. But with La Sombra banished, it was time to face whatever secrets lay hidden in its depths. The cellar was dark and musty, the air heavy with the scent of old stone and forgotten memories. As we descended the stairs, I felt a shiver of apprehension, though not of fear, more of anticipation. At the bottom of the steps, we found a door partially concealed by cobwebs and dust, as if it hadn't been touched in decades. Pushing the door open revealed a hidden chamber. The walls were lined with shelves filled with relics and artifacts that told the story of the convent's long history. But among the artifacts, I found something more sinister. A small altar adorned with strange, dark symbols, much like those we had found in Sister Agnes's room. It was a place of power, a focal point for the darkness that had permeated the convent for centuries. Sister Sophia examined the symbols with a look of grim determination. "This is where it began," she said quietly. "Someone, perhaps long ago, opened a door to the darkness here. La Sombra was not born of this place, but she was invited, allowed to fester and grow stronger. Is it possible that Sister Agnes was drawn here?" I asked, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. Could she have been manipulated by this presence? Sister Sophia nodded. The symbols suggest a binding, a way to control or summon. Sister Agnes might have been a victim of forces she didn't understand. We spent the next few hours dismantling the altar, carefully removing each symbol and cleansing the space with holy water and prayer. It was an act of reclamation, a way to restore the convent to its rightful place as a sanctuary of peace and faith. As we worked, I felt the weight of our mission lift. We were not just exorcising a demon. We were healing the wounds of the past, setting right what had been wrong for so long. The knowledge that Sister Agnes and those before her could finally rest in peace gave us a sense of closure. With the altar dismantled, Sister Sophia and I left the cellar, feeling the warmth of the sun on our faces as we emerged into the daylight. The nuns gathered outside, tending to the garden with newfound energy and purpose. There was laughter, a sound that had been absent from this place for far too long, and it was a reminder that life would continue, despite the horrors we had faced. Before leaving the convent, Sister Sophia and I joined the nuns for one final meal. The dining hall was filled with chatter and smiles, the darkness of the past few weeks fading into memory. As we ate, Mother Juliana approached us, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you both," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You have given us our home back, and we are forever grateful." "We were merely instruments of faith," I replied, humility in my voice. "It was your strength and unity that drove the darkness away. Never forget the power you hold within yourselves." Sister Sophia nodded in agreement. "Together, you have shown that even the darkest shadows can be overcome by the light of faith. Keep that light burning bright, and this place will remain a sanctuary." As we prepared to leave, the nuns gathered to bid us farewell. There was a sense of camaraderie and warmth, a bond forged through shared trials and triumphs. It was a reminder that faith was not just a solitary endeavor, but a communal strength that could withstand any storm. The journey back down the mountain felt lighter than our ascent. The road was clear, the sky bright and welcoming. As we drove away, I glanced back at the convent, its stone walls gleaming in the morning sun. It was a place of history and resilience, and I knew it would endure. Sister Sophia and I spoke little on the drive, each lost in our thoughts. The experience had changed us both, deepened our faith, and taught us the true power of belief. We had faced darkness and emerged victorious, not just through prayer and ritual, but through the strength of our convictions. When we finally returned to the city, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known before. The shadows of the convent were behind us, but the lessons we learned would stay with us forever. We had glimpsed the depths of fear and despair, yet we had also seen the heights of courage and hope. And though our journey together had ended, I knew that Sister Sophia and I would carry the light of our shared experience into the world, ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead. For in the end, it was not the absence of fear that defined us, but our willingness to confront it, armed with faith, unity, and unwavering resolve. Do you think Sister Sophia and Father Miguel should have acted differently? What would you have done in their place? If you enjoyed the story, please subscribe, like, and comment, and stay tuned for the next story.